It's 1942 off the coast of California, and the sonar operators on the USS Jasper are staring at their screens in disbelief. Their pings are bouncing off something solid. 300 to 500 meters down a floor, stretching for hundreds of miles, sitting in the middle of open water where there should be nothing but empty sea. And then, as the sun goes down, that floor starts to rise. It drifts upward through the darkness, spreads out near the surface, and disappears. At dawn, it sinks back down and turns solid again, like the ocean is breathing. For years, nobody in the US Navy can explain it. Not equipment failure, not a sunken island, not enemy sonar tricks. Just a phantom floor that shouldn't exist, doing something physics says it shouldn't do. And here's the strange part. This wasn't the only time the ocean handed scientists something so unbelievable that the establishment simply refused to believe it. 3 times, staring at real, physical proof, the experts looked away. A ridiculed map, a jar of vodka, and an entire ocean floor that turned out to be alive. Each time, the truth was sitting right there. It just had to wait for someone to finally take it seriously. So what actually was underneath the Jasper that night? In June of 1945, an oceanographer named Martin W. Johnson decided to find out. He took a boat off Point Loma, dragged plankton nets through the water at different depths, and pulled up the answer. The phantom floor wasn't rock, and it wasn't a glitch. It was alive. Billions of tons of lanternfish, squid, and tiny crustaceans, all with swim bladders that reflected sonar like solid ground. Every single night, this entire mass rises toward the surface to feed under cover of darkness, then retreats back into the depths at dawn to hide. It's the largest synchronized migration on the planet, happening every day, and the US Navy had mistaken it for the seafloor itself. Now, if the ocean floor could fool an entire naval fleet, you have to wonder what else it's been hiding in plain sight. Even the actual seafloor. For most of the 20th century, scientists pictured the bottom of the ocean as a flat, featureless plain of ancient mud. That picture fell apart because of a woman working alone in a Columbia University basement. Her name was Marie Tharp, and because women weren't allowed on research ships in the 1950s, she was stuck processing sonar data instead, plotting profile after profile of the North Atlantic floor. As she worked, she noticed something impossible to ignore, a deep, continuous notch running straight down the middle of the mid-Atlantic ridge. A rift valley, which meant the ocean floor wasn't sitting still, it was pulling apart. When Tharp showed her colleague, Bruce Heason, he dismissed it outright, calling it girl talk, and told her to redo the numbers. She redrew the maps. The rift valley stayed exactly where it was. The proof came from an unlikely place, the desk next to hers, where a researcher named Howard Foster was mapping earthquakes for the Navy. When they laid Tharp's map over Foster's, the earthquakes lined up perfectly right inside her rift valley. The Earth really was tearing itself apart, exactly where she'd drawn the line. It was the missing piece that finally proved a theory scientists had buried for 50 years. Continental drift, first proposed by a meteorologist named Alfred Wegener back in 1912, and mocked so thoroughly that he died in a Greenland blizzard, still considered a laughingstock. Marie Tharp's basement map didn't just redraw the ocean floor. It vindicated a dead man. 2 years after her maps went public, something even stranger turned up, not on a map this time, but rising straight out of the rocks. In 1977, a team of geologists sailed to the Galapagos Rift looking for hot water seeping through the seafloor. There wasn't a single biologist on board because nobody expected to find anything alive down there. Deep sea life, the thinking went, survived only on scraps drifting down from the sunlit surface above. Then their camera sled spotted a field of white clams, and they sent down the submersible Alvin to look closer. What they found was towering red-tipped tube worms swaying around vents of 17-degree water like some kind of underwater garden. They called it the Garden of Eden. But they had a problem. A research vessel full of geologists and almost no way to preserve a biological specimen. So, when their formaldehyde ran out, they preserved the very first tube worms in the only strong liquid they had left, a stash of Russian vodka they'd picked up in Panama. Those vodka-soaked worms proved something biology said was impossible. Life that runs entirely on chemicals from inside the Earth with no sunlight involved at all. 3 discoveries, decades apart, and the same lesson every time. The evidence was never really the problem. Belief was. And this doesn't stop with lanternfish and tube worms. Scientists have now found microbes living deep inside the rock beneath the ocean floor, and no one knows how far down that life actually goes, or whether it might outweigh everything walking around on the surface. If the smartest people alive were completely certain, just decades ago, that the seafloor was flat, dead, and still, then something we treat as settled fact about the ocean right now is almost certainly wrong too. So, here's the real question. What's the one thing about the ocean you're sure we've got figured out? Because somewhere, right now, someone's holding a piece of evidence nobody wants to believe yet. And one day, it's going to change everything.